Most people think of gambling, neon lights, and quick money when they think of Las Vegas. Some places in that city sell much more interesting things than poker chips, though. If you've ever watched the History Channel, you know about it. Treasure for porn. And Rick Harrison, who ran the gold and silver exchange shop, wasn't just in charge of the business, he made an empire out of old artifacts, bad deals, and strong impulses. His family is shocked by how much money he is leaving behind. Rick has built up a net worth of $9 million, 0 cents, through hard work, risk, and moves that no one saw coming. You may know him as the calm, collected guy on Porn Stars. Let's play the tape again. At the age of 16, Rick worked for his dad, Richard Oldman Harrison, in a small used goods shop in 1981. The first store, which sold coins and other collectibles, was only 300 square feet and was stuck on Las Vegas Boulevard. Rick worked at the counter during the day. He took back cars at night. He paid his bills that way. He had bigger plans, though. His dad and he hoped to make their corner store bigger, a real cash shop. What's the catch? Las Vegas law made it almost impossible to do that. You could not open a pawn shop whenever you pleased, because, 1955, the city linked more people living in the area to more porn licenses. As the city hit a certain size, a few more licenses would become available. Rick did something that most people wouldn't do. He began calling the city's statistician every week, waiting for the population to reach a certain level. The magic number was reached in 1989 and Rick pounced. After getting their porn license, the Harrison family opened the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, which is right off the strip and in the middle of everything. After that, the numbers began to rise quickly. In 2005, Rick and his dad were giving out loans worth almost $3 million, 0 cents a year. Just the interest on that brought in about $700,000, 0 cents a year. That was before everything went off. People gambled and pawned Rolexes to get gas money. Sports fans sold autographed items, and strange, rare, or both things were brought in every day. But Rick didn't just want people to walk by. In the early 2000s, a PBS program and a Funny Central show called Insomniac both talked about the shop. Rick saw what could happen. He began to promote a TV show. He talked about it for years on HBO, YouTube, and to anyone else who would listen. Until 2009, nothing stuck. The History Channel stepped in, and Porn Stars was born. The format was simple. Real people with real things came in with the hope of getting cash. The structure wasn't what made it work, though. It was Rick. Rick became a huge star because of his sharp eye, dry sense of humor, and huge understanding of everything from old guns to Super Bowl rings. This is where things change. A lot of television shows end after a few seasons. They didn't do that. And has had 633 episodes over 21 seasons as of June 2023. What you did wasn't normal. It made history. The History Channel even renews the show for an additional 80 episodes, which is not often seen on TV. Over 4,000 people visit the shop every day, making it a tourist attraction. At its height, and Rick's wealth grew along with it, aside from the deals and laughs that were shown on TV, Rick was also making smart financial moves. He moved into real estate. He put money into the gold and silver markets. Rick was also ahead of the curve when inflation began to rise in the 2020s. You might have seen him on Fox Business warn about it. While other people were scared about prices going up and banks going bad, Rick was stacking metal. He makes a fuss about it. He says that the U.S. government is making money like crazy, and people are buying gold and silver to keep their money safe. There are 147.3 million ounces of gold in Fort Knox. But Rick isn't sure if it's all still there. He has asked for checks, pointed out holes in the supply chain, and talked about how governments in places like South Korea are holding on to gold and not letting it go on sale. Owning gold isn't flashy for Rick. It's a way to stay alive. And that's not just a guess. That's how he's keeping his $9 million 0 cents legacy safe. But Rick Harrison has made more than just money. He's made a huge cultural machine that's much bigger than a roulette table in Las Vegas. Fans call his son Corey Harrison Big Hoss. He didn't just walk into a business, he grew up in it. Corey began by helping his dad clean silver in the back room. This way, he learned the trade from the very beginning. He is now the boss of the gold and silver pawn shop full-time and a main character on Pawn Stars. Corey has become a business force, whether he's finishing big deals or outbidding sellers with his sharp instincts. For Rick, that's the real wealth that's being passed down, not just cash. giving away the game itself. One more person is Chum Lee, Austin Russell, Corey's best friend from childhood and Pawn Stars wildcard. When the show first started, Chum Lee was the silly sidekick who made jokes throughout the episodes. Now Rick goes to him for Pokemon cards, sneakers, old toys, and pop culture items. He can set prices for things that you likely forgot were valuable, and today, it's more useful than ever to know things like that in 2025. Chloe finds a Pokemon card collector in Florida who has more than $1,200,000 0 worth of cards in Season 2 of Pawn Stars Do America. That's not a joke. In 2022, one card sold for $900,000 0 at auction. Rick says he doesn't get the fuss, but Chumlee does. That's why the store now sells more than 1 million playing cards every year. You'll also see Rick and his crew look into a unique painting of Colonel Sanders in Kentucky. Rick paid $1,900 0 for that one. But the story was what mattered to him. Because this kind of pop culture items like old Coca-Cola, KFC, and even movie posters makes people feel nostalgic. It helps people remember things. And that emotional hook makes ordinary things into assets worth 6 figures. It's not about what you remember, but what a whole age remembers, as Rick says. That's where the real money is. Rick has also been spending a lot of money on old cars. He buys a 1971 Super Bee in Providence for $54,000 0 and a 1957 Ford Thunderbird in Ann Arbor for $40,000 0. Rick knows these things will go up in value if you know where to look and how to deal with people. The most crazy part? Fans wait in line around the block to see him do all of this. People from all over the world come to see the team do what they do best. Find worth in places you wouldn't expect it. This season, the items aren't the only thing that gets attention. Rick himself does too. During a stop in Kentucky, he was given the title of Kentucky Colonel, which comes straight from the governor of the state. It's not just about TV numbers that this honor means. It has to do with work, leadership, and character, the same things that made a used store turn into a worldwide chain. These 3 people made a pawn shop into a big hit. When we talk about gold, Rick also knows how to spend it, but he always has a plan. In that one rare case, he paid more than twice the asking price for a letter from the author Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. In the 1800s, the seller asked for $300 0. After being checked out, Rick made an offer of $700 0. Not because he was feeling bad, but because he knew the item was real and would be worth a lot more in the long run. It makes sense to Rick to pay more if it means making more in the long run. Strategy is what it is, not emotion. What does this mean for his family? It means they're getting more than just a shop or a name. They are getting a machine, a business that lends $3 million a year, a show that millions of people around the world watch, and a vault full of gold, silver, and rare items that was built to last through whatever comes next. Now for the part that really hurts. The pawn shop lost more than just a co-founder when Rick's father died in 2018. It lost its strength. Porn stars had always used the old man, Richard Harrison, the grumpy face of someone with dry wit, sharp senses, and decades of experience all in one. Having a used goods shop in 1981 was the first step in the whole process. He had made $5 million 0 from the store and the hit show by the time he died. But now things start to change. Richard changed his will before he died. In this new form, he made it very clear who would get his money and who wouldn't. Joanne, his wife, was left in the will. Both of them did. Rick was the store's face and ran the business for decades. It used to be that his other boys, Joseph and Christopher, were also named. In the 2017 change, Richard took Christopher out of the whole thing. There were no shares, gifts, or anything else. And he didn't try to hide it. Even though he loved and cared about Christopher, the will made it clear that Christopher would not be inheriting anything. It's allowed to do that, and the news talked about how cold it looked. There is no one in the family who has ever said why it happened. The real reason is still a secret. One thing is certain, though. Richard didn't want there to be any doubt about who should be in charge of the Harrison name. Rick was in charge. Just that alone puts pressure on your body. Suits then came along. After Richard died, Rick's mother, Joanne Harrison, went to court to get control of the pawn shop. She said that Rick made her give up her 51% share of the business while she was in the hospital in 2000. She says that when Richard died, she should have gotten the last 49% of his share, which would have given her full control of the shop. Her complaint, on the other hand, says that Rick didn't give her all the paperwork. She says that silver and $500,000 0 cents in cash have been lost without a trace. She wants money damages. She wants a report on her assets. She also wants a judge to stop Rick from using anything that has to do with the family trust. That's where feelings come out. Since we're no longer talking about TV money, there are arguments over inheritance, claims, lost gold, and a son being sued by his mother over the family business. If you ever thought Rick had it easy, this is where that idea falls apart. In the meantime, Rick keeps going. Behind the scenes, the court drama is going on, but he keeps making big moves. He put his fancy Las Vegas home on the market for $3,990,000 0 cents in 2019. There were 7 bathrooms, 4 bedrooms, a home theater with 12 seats, a wine store with 1,000 bottles of wine, and a lagoon-style pool with a 10-foot waterfall, lazy river, and spa. It was like a fortress. He spent $600,000 0 cents on repairs. It cost $45,000 0 cents just for the granite floors. Rick built it for his family, but it was too big for them when the kids got older. He wrote it down and then stopped writing another chapter. Rick doesn't just buy homes, though. He also spends a lot of money on collectibles, which is something he knows a lot about. In 2025, he walked into a local art shop in Las Vegas and saw a very rare set of original drawings from Maurice Sendak's book, Where the Wild Things Are. This was one of the most amazing deals he had ever made. These were the real thing, ink-filled pages from a famous children's book that was never released. The owner put a price on the set of $375,000 0 cents. Rick brought in his expert, who said the pieces were worth $310,000 0 cents. Rick didn't move, though. He tried hard to get $250,000 0 cents, which he got. That was one of the biggest purchases ever made by a porn star. He knew what was going on. Was about value in the future. The value of those drawings will not go down. Instead, it will rise, and Rick is well aware of what this means for his growing wealth. The question is now bigger. What's going to happen with this? When Rick leaves, there are millions of dollars worth of property, priceless items, and rare metals. That's where the tears come in. Rick is getting ready to receive more than just money, it's history. There are stories behind its assets, and its deals are based on understanding and risk. The next person in line is his son, Corey. When Corey was a kid, he worked the floor, filmed the show, and learned everything there was to know about the business. It won't be easy to take over Rick's business, though. There is stress in the family, a lawsuit from his grandma, and the emotional weight of taking over for a man who made pornography a worldwide phenomenon. A lot of people are affected, not just Corey. Rick's third wife, Amanda Palmer, whom he married in 2021, is his third wife. His ex-wife, Kim, is also there. It looks like a complicated family tree. Things generally get messy when there is a lot of money and complicated relationships. Rick left behind more than just pawn shops on Las Vegas Boulevard. It's a whole banking system. There's money, gold, rare collectibles, real estate, show profits, and now a new media business. Rick has bought rare coins, signed guitars, and $250,000 0 cents works of art in the past, but in 2025 he does something that could make him even richer. The sound system. There will be more than one Rick Harrison on the new show. Chuli is also there. It's called Porn After Dark, and it will be available to watch in early 2025. Take a look. 2 of the most familiar porn stars' voices are pulling back the curtain to talk about deals, rare items, and crazy customers that happen behind the scenes without cameras being there. There is already a buzz. Tracy Whitaker, who used to be the show's executive producer, is now on board. Mark Davis, owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, and Billy Gibbons, guitarist for ZZ Top, are reported to be guests. That podcast could make a lot of money by itself. Sponsors are lined up, streaming networks are keeping an eye on it, and Rick has full control of everything. But take a step back and think about the bigger question. What will happen when Rick leaves for good? Do not start with the letters. Rick's net worth is thought to be $9 million 0 cents right now. Among those is the $100,000 0 cents he makes each episode of Porn Stars, which has been on for 21 seasons and going. That is not only a TV hit, it is history. Networks don't usually order 80 shows at once. That happened because of Rick. He made a porn shop with only one site into a well-known brand across the country. It's not over with him either. He has a son named Big Hoss, who is worth about $4 million. Since he was a youngster, he has worked in the shop. As Rick moves into media, Corey has been given more authority. Even better, he wrote a book called Licensed to Porn, about his life and how he worked his way up in the family business. He's also bought some risky things, like a $38,000 0-cents boat, which keeps young fans interested in the brand. Then there's Austin Russell's Chumlee, who might seem like the funny one, but he's a real brand all by himself. It began when he was 21 years old, and now he makes $25,000 0-cents per show. He runs Chumlee's Candy on the Boulevard, a shop known for its strange items. He has a net worth of about $5 million 0-cents. But Rick still thinks Corey is the best person to run the business, even after all that's caused trouble. Fans saw that happen in a 2024 YouTube video where Rick criticized Chumlee's treatment of a deal involving rare coins. He said it was messy. Rick made it clear that Chumlee could not become a manager. Corey deserves your trust. Add in the rest of Rick's life now. He owns expensive homes, like the $3,990,000 0-cents house in Summerlin that has a 12-seat home theater, a 10-foot waterfall, and a lazy river. That's a lot of money that most porn dealers never see. Another thing he still gets money from is porn stars, which has led to spin-offs like Porn Stars Do America. Rick, Corey, and Chumlee hit the road to meet buyers all over the U.S. in that show. The franchise has a new lease on life, and the name lives on beyond the Las Vegas store. This brings us back to the title. Rick Harrison leaves his family a lot of money, which makes them cry, because there are different kinds of tears. Some are about being proud, and some are about being hurt. That $9 million 0-cents doesn't just disappear when Rick retires, or his property is turned over to someone else. A ready son, a co-star who wants more, and a mother who thinks she's owed half the business, get it. It comes from a heritage that was carefully built by 3 generations, but there are still some holes that need to be fixed. That's why Rick's next steps are important. He is going into the media. He is putting his money into items that will go up in value, not down. While inflation shakes the economy, he is hanging on to hard assets. His kids are learning how to run the store, but he's also showing them how to make a better tomorrow. Fans still want to know what he does next. Rick didn't just build a pawn shop, he also made a plan for it. Every part of that plan will be important when it turns into a will. Things like the gold, the real estate, the cases, the podcast, and the family tree. A $3 loan for a used radio was the start of Rick Harrison's story. He's now worth a lot of money. And after everything is over, that luck could do 2 things: bring his family together or split them up.